There are no shortcuts in life. There's no free lunch, and there are no shortcuts in life. So when you look around you and you think that someone found an easy way, you see some people advertising this drop shipping business. This is the way, blah, 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 blah. 20K a month, living the laptop lifestyle. Very unlikely. Most likely not. What up, Casanova? Today, I want to talk about this idea of comparing yourself to others and why it is fucking you up. Why it's making you feel inadequate, like you're losing the race, like you're, on the wrong course, on the wrong path, makes you feel like you're missing opportunities, leaving you with FOMO and this sense of regret, and it's just creates a lot of distraction and suffering. So the first thing that comes to mind that I want to discuss is that the race is long and it's only with yourself. Now, I first heard this in this video on YouTube. I think it's called like Sunscreen or Wear Sunscreen, which is this hypothetical graduation speech that was written by this lady. She was a columnist in the 90s. And it's basically her hypothetically doing a graduation speech at some kind of university and giving young people advice. And that was one of the things that she said was the race is long and it's only with yourself. And this has resonated with me so much over the years. At times when I would be confused, when I would look to others, to what is going on in the world around me, it was a very comforting phrase that the race is only with you. You should only concern yourself with your path. Okay? That it's okay to look to others and see what they're doing, but not to stress you out. It could be a source of inspiration, motivation. You can learn from people, but don't immediately get triggered and start thinking that I need to immediately switch and do what they do. That what they're doing is the right thing. That it's the right thing for me. This is the trap. This is the trap.
Yo, quick announcement, my dude. Just want to briefly mention that over the last year, many guys have been asking me, how do you create chemistry with women? And this has sadly been exaggerated by the pandemic. That's right, I'm talking about that magic you see me create with the girls in my videos. So, I've decided to give away a super entertaining, uncut, infield bonus video showing exactly that. Just click on the link in the description below. By signing up, you're also joining the VIP list for our, wait for it, new course, Honest Chemistry, which will be released in the next month and will teach you everything to do with creating chemistry, from sexual tension to an amazing connection. This course has been more than a year in the making and I'm really excited to release it. So be sure to click the link in the description box or comment section below to get access to your bonus video today and stay in the loop. All right, now let's get back into it.
At the end of the day, everybody's path is different. Everybody's path is, and this is a very important point that I need you to really internalize. Everybody's path is unique. I don't want these things that I mention here to just be like, oh, that sounds nice. Like people read these like little motivational quotes, or watch videos like that video on YouTube and Wear Sunscreen where there's music and it's like feel good. It's the kind I used to play this video for girls when I used to like take them home in my early 20s because it was like so feel good. You can like really bond and there's wisdom in it, but like sometimes you really don't absorb the fucking wisdom, and it's powerful. Like your path is unique to you. You are a very unique individual. Sometimes we forget that. You're born to certain parents, to a certain geographic location, maybe it's a certain religion. You've had your own set of unique experiences, your own set of unique conversations, right? You've formed your own beliefs. You've watched certain books, certain films. Genetically, you you're made up a certain way. So that combination makes you completely unique. Okay? And so these things are going to dictate this path that you're going to be on. And you need to surrender to that path. Okay? And more on that later. What does it mean to surrender to the path? That's so woo-woo. More on that later. But just remember that your path is your own. And also, there are no shortcuts in life. There really are no shortcuts in life. It takes people a while to realize this. But if you haven't already, let it sink in now. And maybe it won't hit you now. Maybe it'll hit you, maybe these words I'm saying are not going to really register. Maybe it'll hit you at some other point. But let me plant the seeds. There are no shortcuts in life. There's no free lunch, and there are no shortcuts in life. Okay? 2 things you should remember. No free lunch, no shortcuts. Free lunch is it's a Milton Friedman quote, something my economics professor, I remember, used to tell us. And that's something that really stuck with me, is that nothing's free. Nothing's free. Nothing is free, ever, in life. You're always paying some kind of a price, and that there are no shortcuts in life. So when you look around you and you think that someone found an easy way, someone wants to be, I don't know, a drop shipper, and you're doing your thing, I don't know, you're doing something else, and you see some people advertising this drop shipping business, this is the way, blah, 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 right? And you think, well, first of all, you think, oh, that's easy. Like, look at this guy, he's living this baller lifestyle, and he said that within 6 months, you can be making $20K a month, living the laptop lifestyle. Very unlikely. Most likely not. Usually any kind of initiative, any kind of business takes like 3 to 5 years, sometimes more, to get to a point where, you know, that's lucrative, that's stable, reliable, etc. Right? That's point one. Second of all, maybe it'll be easier for him. Maybe the stage that he's at in his life, or the interests that, because of the interest that he has, of who he is as a person, dropshipping is a good fit for him, and maybe he can make it within 2-3 years and maybe enjoy it in the process, right? But that doesn't mean that it'll take you the same amount of time, nor does it mean that you'll necessarily enjoy it. Okay, but for the most part, like, we hear these like stories where someone just like made it, I don't know, in a year, you know, or this is really like working out for them. Those are special cases. Okay, those are unicorns, those are special cases. You hear about those Facebooks, right? About those exits. It's like, first of all, that's a special case. Second of all, you don't know if that person has tried a whole number of different ventures beforehand, before they've succeeded at that one, right? You might try that same thing, and it might take you 10 years, or you might fail, you know, or the market's going to be different, right? Or you might not even enjoy it. But as a general rule, shit takes time. Shit takes sacrifice. There needs to be an element of luck. You need to enjoy it. All these things have to kind of conspire in your favor, and it's never easy. It's usually a lot of hard work. The average exit for a startup is 7 years, I think. And that's for the ones who exit, who succeed. 7 fucking years. Not to mention, if someone's focused on one thing today and they're neglecting something else, well, they'll have to deal with that at some other point in the future. It'll catch up with them. So someone might be building their business, but right now maybe you're focused on your health. And maybe you're going to make a lot of progress, you know, creating a healthier lifestyle, fixing some major health issues that you have. It'll force you to eat better, to exercise, to take on, you know, a different perspective in life. And maybe later you're going to focus on building your business, you know, or working on your career or your dating life, whatever it is. But we see certain people doing this one thing, and you might think, well, everything is in order for them. But in reality, that's not necessarily the case. There might be a lot of things that are not in order. So not only are there no shortcuts to achieving one specific thing, but there are no shortcuts to achieving a full and complete life. That takes years, that takes decades, and some people prioritize different things at different times, but they have to tackle those things at some point, whether it's mental health, whether it's general health, whether it's their lifestyle, their dating life, their finances, their friends. They're always sacrificing something to make something else happen. So when you're looking at other people, don't think that they've got it all figured out. And this is the path, this is the shortcut to not only, I don't know, financial success, but that this is the shortcut to general life success. No, that is not true. Also, remember that everyone's struggles are relative. You might think that someone else has it easier, but everyone's struggles are relative. The guy who's running the 7-figure business that you're not, and you're envying him, and you're like, ooh, I want to be like that guy who's running the ads in the on the Facebook that I saw. I want to be that guy. Look, he's like on a beach with his laptop, right? You think that he's happier than you? Not necessarily. Our struggles are relative. He might have his finances figured out, but maybe he's super stressed. Maybe he's actually realizing that he doesn't love what he does, and he's just doing it to maintain a certain lifestyle or to maintain a certain image. Maybe he's depressed. Okay, maybe his business is taking away his ability to hang out with his friends and enjoy life and do all the traveling he's wanted to. He's wanted to cross South America by motorcycle, but he still hasn't. Maybe his relationships are suffering as a result. He can't have a fulfilling relationship. Maybe he has a bad relationship with his father that's unresolved, and that just weighs him down, just really weighs him down. There's some trauma, some other kind of trauma, right? You don't know any of that stuff. Maybe his relationship with his dad is fucking him up so much to the point where he's more miserable than you, even though he's running his 7-figure business. You might be struggling with your dating life, meeting and attracting the kind of girls you want to attract, but maybe there's some guy out there that you know or that you've seen who you think's got it all figured out, and he's got this happy life, and he's fucking all these hot girls, but maybe he's suffering from the fact that he's not fulfilled with his job. Maybe his real passion is to be a photographer, but he hasn't had the balls to pursue that because of, I don't know, judgment from his family or his girlfriend or whatever it is. And that's like weighing him down so much, and that's what's keeping him anxious and creating existential angst. And he's taking all these like girls that he has for granted. You know, I've certainly experienced that, where like I took the things that I've worked hard for actually, and really like these were like exciting, amazing experiences that I've had that I could have never dreamed that I had before, but I was maybe so fixated on something else, business stresses or whatever, that I was just like, oh yeah, of course you're fucking all these like hot girls, of course you just had a threesome, of course you had this like movie-like experience with this girl, of course you're, you know, running a YouTube channel and putting out content, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, of course. No, it's this other stuff that's so stressful. So it's easy for people to take their situation for granted, even though they may have worked so hard for it. But when we're consumed with other things, it's easy to forget that we worked so hard for it. It's easy to take it for granted. But the point is that who's to say that, you know, what I'm feeling with my stress in the business or in my relationship or whatever it is that's consuming me is more or less important than what you're feeling, right? It's all relative. It's all relative. You know, you hear people sometimes say things like, you have money, or you have this amazing family, or you have this and this. You know, you don't appreciate that. You don't know what it's like to you know, struggle financially, or you don't know what it's like to struggle with girls and all that. It's like maybe yes, no, And yeah, we should be grateful for the things that we experience and that we have, and that's a whole other topic. But at the same time, you're not one to say that your stress or your struggle is more important or more severe than somebody else's. That's not, you can't even measure that. Someone's depression, someone could be very financially successful, but their depression could be a lot more severe than your struggle to get a girlfriend. A lot more severe. So this is just to help you put some things into perspective and to remind you that it's not a race, it's not a competition. Everyone's just doing their thing. Everyone's just dealing with their own shit. And you gotta just focus on you. And look, you might miss some opportunities. Like, we all have this FOMO, right? These regrets. We miss out on certain opportunities and we regret it. We feel shitty about it. So it's okay, like, you're gonna miss out on some opportunities. You're gonna gain others. Don't get attached to these things that you missed out on and think that you were meant to experience them. You can't have it all, and you don't need to. You don't need to. And the experiences that you do have, that you are gonna end up having, are cool too, are great too. Maybe they're even better than the ones you missed out on. Like, I remember for me, okay, so I went to high school in Canada, but I was an immigrant from Russia. I've mentioned this before. I was an immigrant from Russia, grew up in Canada. I grew up, attached to this like vision of, the American dream, watching all these high school movies, thinking, oh, I want to have that same kind of experience in high school. Okay, ideally for me, it was like in California. I romanticized California. You watch these high school movies and you're like, oh, I want it to be like that. I want to have like this cool group of friends and we're just gonna like hop into a Jeep, with a bunch of hot girls and just like go to the beach, just hang out. Oh, it's so awesome. And then prom's gonna like come along and I'm gonna have this hot date. We're gonna have this like epic night out. I used to romanticize that so I came to Canada when I was 8, and I pretty much grew up in Toronto. And my middle school, elementary school, I fit in. It was all right. There was also a bunch of immigrants, but in high school I didn't really fit in. These upper middle class white kids who, I didn't fit in with them, basically. My high school was like the cool high schools I saw in the movies. It really was. But I just didn't fit in, not because the kids were mean to me or anything like that, but I dressed differently, like my mentality was different, I was fearful, I wasn't confident. So I didn't fit in. I had my own little immigrant friends, the Italian guy, the Greek guy, the Serbian guy. But so I was in so many ways attached to how I thought high school should be and how prom should be. And guess what? That didn't happen for me. Not only, and it's not like, it happened somewhere else. It was happening, like that was a reality at my high school. Like people were going to these parties and having an epic experience. But I couldn't partake in any of that. I just didn't fit in. It wasn't in the cards. And it was just like rubbed in my face. Like, here it is, here's the lifestyle, here's what happened, and here's what you saw in the movies. It was, it was just like a big tease, but you can't be a part of this. And my prom was shitty. Right, I just went with a couple of friends. I didn't have a date. There were a bunch of after parties. The one we ended up going to was kind of lame. But all the other kids, they probably had a grand experience. And so for a while, I was just like really bummed out about it. I was like, high school was so shit. I was just like studying to get good grades to get into fucking university because my dad was so hard on me. And he told me that like, it's all gonna change when you go to university and when you get a good job. But anyway, I was working so hard to to get the good grades, and I was super busy and all that. But also I just didn't fit in, and so high school was not what I thought it was going to be, and I was super bummed out about it. I felt like I really missed out. I'm like, I can never get that back. University was also quite shit, to be honest. I was in business school and I was like working my ass off, which is grueling. It was grueling. And my business school was a great school, but it was this like commuter school just outside of Toronto. Didn't have like a very good cohesive social network or like student community that you see in other cities, in other like smaller cities, for example, with like a good kind of social scene and party scene. My school didn't have that, so I really felt like I missed out in that sense. The thing that I really enjoyed was going on an exchange program to France. That's where I really experienced that cool university experience. Okay, so yeah, I felt really bummed out that I missed out in high school and I missed out in university, but it's like, well, it is what it is. But guess what? It made me into who I am today, and instead I had all kinds of other cool experiences, right, over the course of my life. I had this client who was, sabotaged a lot of his friendships and had these was kind of running in these cool social circles, but then when he sabotaged all his friendships and he was able to go on these dates with these girls through the social circle who were hot, but he just was so afraid, had all kinds of fears and complexes that he was sabotaging those dates and not sleeping with those girls even when they were in his own bed. And at some point he just kind of lost out on that whole life. Long story short, and he was in his mid-20s, just obsessing over how he could get that back, and maybe he'll never get that again. It's so hard to rebuild that kind of lifestyle that you had in your early 20s or mid-20s to have that in your late 20s or 30s, because people start doing their own thing and they start getting married, they're on their own path, they're moving, they're serious, they're less available. So it's hard to recreate that lifestyle that you had in your early 20s and your late 20s, let's say. So he was in this rush to make it happen and salvage it. And he was just kind of resisting the fact that, well, one, it might not be possible to recreate, and two, it's okay if you don't. Okay, it's okay if you don't. You can have other cool new experiences, a different kind of lifestyle. Okay, that might be, good in a different way, maybe better. The point is to it's so hard sometimes to come to terms with that, especially when you feel like you missed out on something where it could have been different. It could have been different. It couldn't have been different. Things happen for the reasons they did. And sometimes we beat ourselves up for it when we shouldn't, because a lot of things, most of those things are actually out of our control. He couldn't have slept with those girls, and he couldn't have not sabotaged those friendships because of all this bullshit that he had in his head and these fears and traumas or whatever it was, right? So stop obsessing and ruminating. Stop ruminating over the fact that you missed out on some stuff or are missing out on some stuff. Oh, there's some stuff going on right now, but I can't do that. Ooh, I'm missing out. It's okay. You might not be meant to be doing that anyway. This is maybe more important what you're doing right now. You might get to experience it at a different point in your life, in some other way perhaps. Look, as the saying goes, you can't always have your cake and eat it too. There are sometimes sacrifices and trade-offs in life. Sometimes you have to sacrifice if you want to build out your business, right? You actually want to build out your business so that you have that cool lifestyle or financial freedom, whatever it is that's attached, that's the end goal there. You want to do that, you genuinely want to do that, well, guess what? You're gonna have to fucking sacrifice a lot of shit. So you can't be sitting there trying to build out your business, meanwhile being oh, look at that person on the Instagram, Or that guy I used to go to school with on Facebook, he's in Croatia, he's vacationing in Croatia, partying on a boat. I want to be doing that. Somebody else is doing something else. Like, oh, they're travel vlogging. Like, why am I building a channel on, unboxing shit? Maybe I should start a travel channel because it's more fun. Because you can get to travel and look, like, have these cool experiences. It's like, well, are you really passionate about travel? Like, do you actually want to do that? And do you really think that it's all glamorous and fun? Like, people sometimes look at my channel and like my business and think, you're just like hanging out and fucking girls and just traveling and doing cool stuff. It must be so peachy. No, man, it's not. It's not fucking peachy. It's grueling sometimes. It's grueling. Okay, it's really hard work. A lot of sacrifices, a lot of ups and downs, major stress and anxiety. Okay, demons need to be slayed. There are periods of time when I try not to think about girls at all. At all. I block them out. I avoid distractions. Okay, over the last few months during this whole pandemic, I was thinking of maybe like going to South America or something instead of being in Canada. And I thought, oh, that'd be nice, like go to Brazil or some shit, right? That'd be nice, that'd be cool. I can be by the beach and all that stuff. But then I thought, long story short, there were some logistical reasons for it. But like one of the big reasons I didn't go was because we had this whole setup here in Montreal. I moved to Montreal in July. It was supposed to be for like 6 months. We decided to like extend it longer, make it like 10 months or whatever. So we had this whole setup. We had this like good apartment. We had so much shit we needed to do in the business. I wanted to create content. And I thought it would just be such a distraction for me to go to Brazil right now. It'd be cool, it'd be a nice change of pace, change of scenery. I really wanted that, and I thought, oh, fuck, am I missing out? But I had to decide what was a priority. And the decision was that I really needed to focus on work. I needed to like cut out distractions, cut out girls, just focus. I'm the kind of person that just really, really needs to focus sometimes. And I easily get distracted, triggered by stuff. So not everything is as it appears, right? You can, by all means, try stuff. You think someone has it better because they're, traveling around and living the laptop lifestyle, okay? And, you feel like you're in one place and you think, well, I could be doing that too. Maybe, try it out, but maybe what you'll realize is moving every 3 months is a fucking distraction. And you have to uproot and you have to, build a new network. And maybe the girls you're meeting, you can't continue dating them. What about your friends? You have to adjust to a new environment. You had this really cool apartment with a nice setup, with a nice view. Oh, now you have to change all that. It's distracting. So you start to realize maybe I don't want to move every 3 months. Maybe I want to move every year or so. Maybe I like the idea of being able to move when I want to move, but not always move. So you got to try stuff out and don't think that you see the guy who's like traveling around and that it's all glamorous and cool. You might realize it's not even for you. I love to travel and I love change of sceneries, but sometimes it's so fucking distracting. Moving from one place to another, especially if you're trying to run a business, uprooting and all that stuff. So try stuff, understand that there have to be trade-offs as well, that you have to make sacrifices. You can't do it all at once. I always say you can't do more than two serious things simultaneously. You can't build a business and get really good with girls and be really fit and do yoga and learn to play an instrument all at once, okay? That's just completely absurd, completely absurd. Sometimes it's difficult to even build several habits at once. It's like you got to focus on like one or two at a time. And everyone's different, but for the most part, it's hard, it's very misleading to think that you can like do it all at once. If you're trying to get good with girls and build this skill set, go out, socialize, work on your confidence, push your comfort zone, stretch the limits of what's possible, all that stuff. You can't necessarily simultaneously be also hanging out with your friends and drinking and socializing. It's like combining these two worlds. Sometimes I see guys do that. That's very unproductive. It's very unproductive, and it also can sometimes create tension amongst your friends because they're like, ooh, why is this guy just constantly going to talk to girls? I thought we were all just kind of hanging out and having a drink. It creates like friction and tension, and like, yeah, maybe you're trying to like involve your friends in it too, but then you have to have like a conversation with them about it. It's like, hey, if we're doing this, and if we're going out to like build this skill, then we should do that. If we're just going out to drink and have a good time, then we should do that. But combining it all, I'm gonna travel and I'm gonna like build a business and I'm gonna like get good with girls all at the same time. Like, what the fuck? That's absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous and completely and utterly unrealistic. But these are the kind of things that are created when we want to do it all. We have FOMO. We think that things have to go in accordance with some kind of a plan. We're trying to control too much, right? This is the kind of shit that happens. You end up sabotaging things for yourself. You end up not enjoying yourself. You end up not growing at the pace you could be. You end up not, making the kind of progress that you could because you're getting distracted. You have shiny object syndrome. You started this one thing, oh, it got hard, you got distracted by, you started trying to be a copywriter, but then you're like, oh, drop shipping, look, this guy's promising the moon, right, in 6 months. I'm just gonna be a drop shipper. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna start a dating channel because I saw Vadim do it. It must be easy. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna start trading crypto because my buddy just, did a few trades and made 40 grand. Oh, that's what he's probably making every month. I could do that too. Like, fuck, like be fucking realistic, man. Just be fucking realistic. And I know sometimes you have to go through life to have these realizations, right? Like sometimes, you can speed these things up, and I'm not necessarily trying to get you to speed up your life, right? The realizations you have in your 30s are not the ones you have in your 20s, and your 40s not the ones you have in your 30s, right? But at the same time, if you kind of keep these things in mind, keep this wisdom in mind, or perhaps you are at a point in your life where you are struggling to make sense of things, right? And you're having some kind of an existential crisis, then this is the kind of shit that you need to hear. And this is for you then. And look, while I say that there are trade-offs in life and you have to prioritize and you can't have your cake and eat it too, etc., yes, that's true. But sometimes you have to actually test what is possible. You have to try stuff out. Certain things that you may think can't be done simultaneously or are limiting, it might actually be the opposite. You might think you can't build this business while living in Thailand. But maybe you can. You might think, oh, I need to be in my city because I feel more comfortable here and I have my network here. But maybe like most of the things that you need can be found online. So you might be like looking at these people who are like living the laptop life, and you think, oh, I can't do that. I'm stuck here. But I have to sacrifice. Maybe not. Right? If you're in a relationship, you want to be like going out and meeting girls, right? But you also want to be in a relationship. Well, sometimes you can't do both. If you're not happy, if you're in a relationship and you're constantly like thinking about having some cool adventures and meeting new girls and fucking new girls and all that, and you can't have that in your relationship, well, maybe first of all, the relationship is not for you. Maybe it's not a good relationship. So you don't have to just like sacrifice for the sake of sacrificing. Maybe your heart is not in it, or your heart's not in that career, or whatever it is. So your heart's not in it, maybe. So maybe you should like go out and try some stuff out for a couple of years, or maybe you should have a different kind of arrangement in the relationship where you can have threesomes together, for example. Right? Maybe you can travel together, do something cool like that. Right? You might not think it's possible because of the reality you have, you're accustomed to, or because of this girl that you're with. But guess what? There could be a bunch of girls that are down for that, or they're down for some form of a monogamish arrangement. Or maybe you can turn your passion into a business. You love skateboarding and you think, oh, like, if only I could just like skateboard. But no, I need to like do my MBA because I got to focus and I got to commit. Vadim said, you got to make sacrifices, you got to focus. Yeah, but do you really want to do the MBA? Maybe you can build a business out of your passion for skateboarding. And obviously it's not going to always be as fun as just skateboarding. Same way building a dating business is not always just as fun as going out and having a carefree night. But it's still, if it's your passion, you will enjoy many elements of it, and you probably can make it happen in this day and age. So sometimes you can have your cake and eat it too, okay? So explore, experiment, be realistic, okay? Be focused when it's important to do so. Make commitments to yourself to actually try things properly, see them through. Like people, that's another thing, people they're so distracted by what else is going on around them that they're not committing to something wholeheartedly, assuming again it's something you enjoy and you think is right for you, okay? Commit wholeheartedly and try it out, right? Like accept that challenge. Don't, like if you realize after a year that, you try a photography business, let's say for example, but you realize after a year that, you're really not passionate about photography. Well, that's cool, right? But if it's like you find that it's challenging to run, there are certain challenges to the business, or you're having certain kind of fears putting stuff out, and you don't want to face those fears and face those challenges and rise to the occasion, and instead you think that there's some easier path, that the drop shipping business is the easier path, or getting MBA is the easier path, well then you're just like selling out, and you're ignoring, what you're truly into. You're bitching out, really. You're bitching out. So be able to differentiate. Are you bitching out and just getting distracted and thinking that there's some shortcut, there's some easier path? I told you there is no easier path. There is no easier path. There is no easier path. Being able to differentiate between, am I bitching out, or am I just really not passionate about this thing, okay? Because if I am bitching out and I recognize that and I just commit wholeheartedly and commit to what that journey can bring, and instead of getting distracted by some next shiny object, some easier path, to not have to face all this stuff, instead, let's say you're going to rise up to it, you're going to push through, and you're going to transcend. You're going to transcend all this fear and all this bullshit. And you're going to realize, wow, how amazing this path you chose actually is, how rewarding, how fulfilling it is, right? Instead of lying to yourself, and this is where the whole honesty with yourself is so important, instead of lying to yourself and looking for some shortcut and saying, oh no, I don't actually want to, connect and sleep with all these, beautiful women. I don't actually want to have, this kind of lifestyle and build a business. I don't actually want to, be a leader. I don't actually want to try this new kind of relationship. So instead of lying to yourself, if you actually admit these things to yourself and try them and commit to them and experiment and deal with the fears and all these challenges, you might find how rewarding and fulfilling and amazing it is. So when you commit to something wholeheartedly and you see it through and you push through, you'll be surprised how rewarding it can be. It's so easy to just get distracted by some next shiny object, some easier path. A good microcosm for that is, let's say you're talking to a girl at night. You're at a bar. There are a lot of options. You're talking to a girl and it's it's going kind of well, but you're not sure about her logistics. You're thinking maybe taking her home. You're not sure. There's some friends in the picture. Ooh, she's kind of hot and cold, lukewarm, blah, 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 right? You're it's not that certain in your head that you could take her home, let's say. And it's, close to the end of the night or whatever, or maybe it's 1 a.m., there's an hour left. It's so easy to be distracted by, there's all these other girls, right? And you think, well, I can just go to talk to some other girl and she could immediately like me and it'll just happen, right? It's so easy to get distracted, to have that kind of thinking. And you see guys sometimes just jumping around from girl to girl looking for some perfect situation, where like the girl is super enthusiastic and she has no friends with her, no one to distract her. She has perfect logistics. Her house is just around the corner. She even suggests it herself. Like, they're so attached to this idea of some like perfect interaction that's going to be smooth and seamless, you know, when in reality that's rarely the case. First of all, there's always, you know, some good things, some bad things, some tricky things, right? It's this mishmash of elements. So instead of looking to some next easier opportunity, some next shortcut, why don't you just like commit to this interaction that you're having and see it through? You know, don't make it your focus necessarily don't get so attached to the fact that there's some easier way to get laid tonight. There is no easier way, first of all. There is no easier way. And I'm not saying don't be strategic, right? But what I am saying is that try to like see this interaction through, try to learn something from it. You'll be surprised what happens. Yeah, maybe she was, you know, lukewarm or hot and cold. Well, maybe because she's like testing you or you know, playing you, or this is her way of flirting. Or maybe she's just a bit reserved. And that's why she's not as like enthusiastic about you. But deep down, she's like, damn, I really want to fuck this guy. So what if she has friends with her? Maybe you think her friends are an obstacle. Maybe they're not an obstacle. Maybe you really vibe with her friend and her friend's like, yo, we should definitely go hang and smoke a J. This guy's cool, right? And she'll like, you know, encourage her friend to fuck you. Maybe her friend's place is around the corner and the logistics of the situation are actually amazing. Maybe you'll really connect with this girl. Okay, maybe you'll get really far and you'll almost fuck her, but you won't fuck her, but you'll, I don't know, learn something great. Maybe you had a really interesting realization along the way. So trust that this, you know, see it through. Trust that you can learn something from this interaction, from this path, right? This is a great microcosm, right? Because you can use the same logic when you apply it to any situation on a micro level or on a macro level. Like, trust that you can learn something from this path when you overcome certain obstacles, certain challenges. There are a lot of unexpected elements that might come along the way. You might have some cool realization. Instead of thinking there's some shortcut, there's some easier path, there's some quick way to get laid. So see things through. Don't be a dabbler. Continue along a certain path or stay with a certain situation as long as your heart is in it, okay? And by heart is in it means you're interested in the process, you're interested in the girl, not because there's a quick and dirty way to get that final result, because there isn't. And you know, for that same reason, if you're with this girl and you might get laid, you think you might get laid, but you're really not enjoying her company. And you don't want to put up with her friends. And there's like, you know, it's going to be a 4-hour process to take her back and hang out and have an after party and then get laid. And you're like, I'm not really even vibing with this girl. Then your heart's not in it. And don't do it for the wrong reasons, just to bust a night at the end. I mean, it's case by case. You can make that decision. But like, so you can use that same logic where you don't have to commit to this just for the sake of committing. So don't tell yourself, yeah, well, I could be that guy that fucks a girl at the end of the night. Okay, but maybe you don't want to be that guy that fucks the girl at the end of the night. Just so you can tell yourself you did it, or tell your friend you did it, or just to bust a night or whatever it is. Maybe you don't want to, maybe it's just not worth it with her, right? So you can abort. Bottom line is, enough with these juvenile and overly simplistic and completely distorted comparisons that you're making between yourself and others. And not only between yourself and others, but also between you and some distorted, rigid vision or version of you that you're attached to, that you think it needs to be this way, it needs to be along this timeline, right? Which is creating all this like stress and suffering. Instead, try to be authentic with yourself and just figure shit out that is important to you, that makes your path, your journey meaningful, interesting, worthwhile. Understand that there are sacrifices to make along the way. Understand that you can't always have your cake and eat it too, but sometimes you can. And just fucking do you, bro. So, I hope this gives you some perspective. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment below, share your thoughts, questions, concerns, criticisms, any other topics you want me to cover. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you're notified when we put out content. Also, don't forget to grab your free 30-minute infield video, bonus video, link in the description below or in the comment section. You'll also be put on the VIP list for the upcoming course that's dropping that I'm really excited about, Honest Chemistry. It's gonna blow your fucking mind. Anyway, go do it. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.